Welcome to the Fundamentals of Fitness, the podcast where we strip away the noise, the guilt, and the unrealistic expectations around health and fitness, and we focus on what actually works in real life. I'm Alison, your no-nonsense coach. So whether you're on a walk, driving to work, sitting in traffic, or avoiding folding that pile of washing, settle in. Because today we're going to talk about something that's really frustrating in fitness, the plateau. That point where it feels like you're doing everything right and absolutely nothing is changing. So pop on those trainers or grab that cuppa and let's go right in. Few things test your consistency more than a plateau. At the beginning of a fitness journey, progress often feels really obvious. You feel better, you move better, the scale moves, your clothes fit differently. People can notice. Everything feels exciting, right? Then something changes. That scale stops moving. Your strength improvements slow down. Body composition appears unchanged. Energy feels just similar. And suddenly it feels like all your effort has stopped working. And this is usually where people start panicking. They change the plan, they cut the calories, they add cardio, buy supplements, start a completely different program, or convince themselves they're somehow broken in their metabolism. But here's the reality. Most plateaus are not failure, they're physiology. And understanding that distinction might save years of frustration. So what actually is a plateau? One of the biggest mistakes people make is assuming a plateau means progress has stopped, but that's not necessarily true. A plateau simply means the change you expected to see is no longer visible. Those are very different things. So your body is designed to adapt. It hates wasting energy. From an evolutionary perspective, adaptation is a survival advantage. When you expose the body to stress repeatedly, it adapts. That's exactly what training is. You lift the weights, so your body adapts. You run regularly, your body adapts. You create a calorie deficit, your body adapts. The problem is, most people want adaptation, but they don't like what adaptation feels like, because adaptation makes progress less obvious. One of the most important models in exercise physiology comes from Harris-Sales general adaptation syndrome. This theory suggests that the body responds to stress in 3 stages. Number 1, alarm. Number 2, resistance. And number 3, exhaustion, if stress becomes excessive. Initially, the body reacts strongly. This is where beginner gains often happen. Then the body becomes more efficient, more adapted, more resistant to the same stimulus, which means the exact thing that caused progress before may no longer be enough to create further adaptation. If we look at elite athletes, when they first start training, improvements likely came quite quickly. But when they're already operating at elite levels, improvements become much harder because adaptation has already occurred. The closer you get to your potential, the slower progress becomes. And that's true for everyday people too. The first 10 kilos often comes off faster than the last 5. The first pull-up often arrives faster than the 10th. The first strength gains often happen faster than the later gains. Progress slows because adaptation has occurred, not because you're broken. One of my clients lost weight steadily for several months. Then the scales stopped moving. Immediately, she assumed that it stopped working. But looking deeper, her strength was increasing, the waist measurements were reducing, energy had improved, consistency remained excellent. The scale had plateaued, but her progress had not. And the distinction changed everything. The 5 most common causes of plateau are as follows. Number 1, adaptation. Number 2, recovery limitations. 3, energy intake drift. Number 4, reduced NEAT. And number 5, unrealistic expectations. So let's explore how each of these affects your physiology, behavior, and outcomes. So, adaptation. This is where the body has become more efficient. So the current stimulus no longer creates the same response. Your recovery limitations, poor sleep, high stress, accumulated fatigue. The body may be receiving enough stimulus, but it's lacking the resources to adapt. Energy intake drift. This is one of the most common issues I see. The calories slowly increase, the portions gradually expand, and tracking becomes less accurate. Not through dishonesty, but through normal human behavior. Reduced NEAT. Now this is huge. People often move less subconsciously as dieting progresses. Your NEAT, non-exercise activity thermogenesis, that decreases. The energy expenditure falls. Expectations. Sometimes progress has slowed, but not stopped, and your expectations simply doesn't match the reality. Let's discuss what athletes do differently. And this always applies to the everyday person. Athletes expect plateaus. That's the key difference. They don't see them as evidence of failure. They see them as information. And information versus emotion. Most people respond emotionally. Athletes respond analytically. Instead of "this is just not working," they ask, "what this is telling me." That question can change everything for you. Let's have a look at Lewis Hamilton, for example. A poor qualifying session doesn't mean abandoning the car setup entirely. It means gathering data, reviewing information, making intelligent adjustments. Fitness works exactly the same way. Plateaus are data, not verdicts. The clients who progress long-term are rarely the most motivated. They're usually the most curious. They investigate. They adjust. They continue, rather than just panic. So what should you do when progress appears to stop? Step 1, do not panic. Step 2, gather some data. Look at weight trends, measurements, your performance, your recovery, your adherence. Step 3, identify your limiting factor. Not the emotional factor, the limiting factor, the actual factor. Step 4, adjust one variable at a time. Not 10, not 6, not all of them, just one. Step 5, stay consistent long enough for the adjustments to work. Because most people don't fail because the strategy is wrong. They fail because they change it before it has time to work. A plateau does not mean you're failing. A plateau does not mean your body is broken. And a plateau certainly does not mean your effort has been wasted. Often it means your body has adapted, which is exactly what it's supposed to do. The question is not, why isn't this working? The better question is, what does this information tell me? Because progress belongs to the people who stay curious long enough to find the answer. If this episode has helped you rethink your plateaus, share it with someone who feels like they're stuck. because often the people who feel stuck are much closer than they think. And if you're building long-term strength, health, and performance, make sure you're following the fundamentals of fitness so you don't miss the next episode. Because next time, we're going to tackle one of the biggest myths in fitness, the discipline myth. What actually keeps you going? Until then, train with structure, recover with intention, and build something that lasts. I'll see you in the next one.